Yo, what's going on guys, Arekkz here, welcome back to another For Honor character guide. So far I have covered the Peacekeeper and SHUGOKI, so if you guys have missed any of those videos then you can find them linked down below. But in today's video we are turning our attention to another one of the characters that wasn't in the beta, Lawbringer. I asked you guys to let me know in my last video what character you wanted me to cover next, and this guy got a lot of votes, so here we are. If you do enjoy this, then a like would be super appreciated, and comment down below if you have any questions. Also, if you guys are playing this game yourself, now that it's out, let me know what characters you guys are playing as. Now to begin with, Lawbringer belongs to the Knights faction and is a hybrid hero, combining the features of both a tank and a vanguard. He has a lot of health, he hits pretty hard, and while you can quite easily go on the offensive with this character, his strengths really lie in his counterattacks and his disabling abilities. According to the game, he is classified as a hard character to use, but having spent some time with him, it's really not that bad. Sure, he's got a lot of moves, and at first glance that may seem a little bit daunting, but when you really break it down, this hero quite simply revolves around blocking or parrying hits, and then following that up to punish your opponent. What I will say, however, is that if you want to use this character, you need to be able to parry. If you can't, then there's a whole chunk of his moves list that simply won't be accessible to you. So, as a super quick reminder, parrying is simply a case of performing a heavy attack in the same direction as your opponent's incoming attack. Time it right and you'll parry. So if they attack left, you heavy attack left. If they attack right, you go right, etc. Takes a bit of getting used to, but once you master it, it'll become second nature to you. So now let's talk moves. Lawbringer has 3 basic chain combos. First up you have Book, Chapter and Verse. This is light attack, heavy attack, light attack, or RB. Of course, as with any combo, you can do this in a number of different directions depending on your stance. But one thing worth noting is that Lawbringer has a hero specific known as Stunning Top Heavy Attacks. And with this, if you successfully land a top heavy attack, in other words, a heavy attack in the high stance, it'll stun your opponent. When they're like this, they can't block, and they also can't see the direction of the next incoming move either. So when performing your combos, if you have the opportunity to turn one of your heavy hits into a top heavy hit, then do so. The stun will give you an advantage. After that, you have Judge, Jury, and Executioner. This is Light, Heavy, Heavy, or RB, and the nice thing about this is the final hit is an unblockable. So again, if you make the second hit a top heavy and stun, then your opponent will be far less likely to be able to successfully dodge the final hit. And then your final combo is Swift Justice. This is Heavy, Light, Heavy, or RT. However, there is a slight variation to this one. If you make the third and final hit a top heavy one, then you can immediately follow that with another light input for a Swift Justice finisher. So RT, up RT. Adds an extra hit in, it's quick, so it's definitely worth it if you can sneak it in. Moving on from there, you then have Impaling Charge. This is your standard no guard or no lock on move. Just sprint towards the enemy and press RT to impale them like this, and then push them back. It has some decent range on it, so obviously it can be used to push people off edges or up against walls, or it's also just a good opener if you want to rush down your opponent and go on the offensive. There is, however, another impaling move, but I'll speak more about that in a second when we talk about parry combos. So after that, you have the long arm. This is back and guard break, or back and X, and this is an unblockable throw. You pick up the opponent and you throw them over your shoulder. It doesn't deal damage, but it knocks them down, which obviously gives you an easy opening to then wail on them. After that, you then have Shove. This is performed whilst guarding by dodging in a direction and pressing X. Again, it's an unblockable, and this will shove your opponent back. This can be done in any of the 3 directions, however, there's more to this than just a means to push your opponent back. In fact, this is going to be a very important move for you. See, Shove can also be used to initiate chain attacks, meaning all of those chain attacks we went through at the beginning, you can go into all and any of those after a shove. So if someone is blocking, shove them and go into a combo. Better still, throw a top heavy attack into the mix to stun, and they also won't be blocking the whole thing. However, it gets even better. There's a move known as Shove Mix-Up. After any successful heavy attack, i.e. an attack that lands, you can press X again to go into another shove. So you could go shove, combo into heavy, shove, heavy, etc. At least until you run out of stamina. There is also a third path to shove too, this time from a block, so if you successfully block an attack, you can press X to go into a shove as well, in turn opening the door to combos once again. So to recap, you can shove from dodge, from block, and from heavy hit. Now finally, let's talk about the parry moves. All of the following moves can only be performed following a successful parry. Impaling Riposte is left or right and heavy after a parry. Much like the Impaling Charge, it'll impale your opponent, only this one doesn't require a run-up. Blind Justice is another unblockable. This is forward and heavy following a parry, or I guess top heavy is the proper way to reference it. Basically the up attack. This is a very powerful move, so if you can land this following a parry, then your opponent is going to remember it. You can pull off a light riposte with a light attack following a parry. This is just a quick move, it doesn't consume a lot of stamina, but it is a quick way to just knock your opponent away, allowing you to kind of regain control of the situation. And then finally you have Make Way. This is basically your parry zone attack, so if you are surrounded and you successfully parry one of the incoming attacks and press light and heavy together, or RB and RT, you perform this wide sweep. Of course, as with any character, you can perform a zone attack simply by pressing RB and RT anyway, but with Lawbreaker that can also come from a parry, which is of course very useful, again, if you're being surrounded. So, as you can see, a good portion of this hero's moves hinge on either parries or blocks, hence why it's a great character to play defensively. You can literally let your opponent come to you and then react to their every move. In fact, with a lot of characters, the last thing you want is to be backed into a corner, but with Lawbringer, it really wouldn't matter. You have so many defensive options that can turn the tide in battle, and not to mention heavy hitting too. You are, after all, a hybrid, so while you might not hit as hard as, say, some of the dedicated tanks, you're certainly not weak either. If you do plan on playing the Lawbringer more offensively and don't like the idea of having to react to your opponent, then Shove is your best friend. That is one of your main options for playing aggressively. Shove leads into pretty much all of your bread and butter combos, which is a nice recipe for damage, and in the process you will likely force your opponent to start playing recklessly in turn, opening you up for your parry options too. So all in all, a very nice hero to play with, probably one of my new favourite characters right now. At first glance, perhaps a little bit daunting, but hopefully now you guys can see it's really not a difficult character to use once you know where everything comes from. Anyway, that's pretty much it for the time being. Thank you for watching. Keep it locked because there are more character guides coming. But for the time being, thank you for watching. Take it easy. Catch you next time. Peace out.